Welcome back to Cooking in College, the show that teaches you how to make delicious, easy, and affordable meals. I'm your host, Paige. Tonight we're going to be making macaroni and cheese and meatloaf. So the first thing that we're going to do is preheat our oven to 350 degrees because we're going to be starting off with our meatloaf because that takes the longest. So we'll come over and preheat it to 350. While that's preheating, we're going to start mixing the meatloaf. So you're going to take 2 pounds of ground beef, and you're going to be doing all of this with your hands. So, you know, don't get grossed out. So you're going to just drop it in there. Make sure you don't need plastic wrap like me. Just drop it. And then you're going to pour 3/4 cups of breadcrumbs. Just plain breadcrumbs, not, you know, Italian or nothing like that. 2 eggs you're going to crack in there. A packet of Lipton Beefy Onion soup, which you can find at the store. And actually on the back of it, it actually has this recipe. I got it from my grandma, you know. This is how she makes her meatloaf. It's really good. So you're just going to pop that in there. A 1/3 cup of ketchup. And if the ketchup is having trouble coming out, you can just take a spoon and whip that out. And then 3/4 cups of water. Yeah. And now, this lovely delight, we're just going to mix with our hands. So once you have mixed your meatloaf, you're going to mold it into a loaf. So we're just going to put it, and we're using a 13 by 9-inch pan that has sides. You can use any type of like cookie sheet or whatever, but we're using this so that all the sides can get cooked. See my little loaf? So now I'm just going to rinse, well, wash, they're all nasty, wash my hands off, and then we're going to place it into the oven. And it says to cook for an hour, but you want to check it just by cutting in and looking to see if it's cooked or not, to see if it needs the full hour or it might not, or it might need more. So we're just going to drop some of that. We're going to place it in our oven. And I like to set my timer for about 45 minutes just to check it at that time. Okay, so now we're going to start on the macaroni and cheese. We're going to be using Elbow Macaroni, 8 ounces of it. So this is a 16-ounce box, so we're just going to use half. I did 6 to 8 cups of water, and it's already boiling. I'm just going to pour about half of that in there. And we're only going to cook it for 5 minutes. It might say something different on the box, but we're just cooking it for 5 minutes because we're also going to put it in the oven. We're just going to give it a little stir, and then we're going to let it cook. Now our pasta is done cooking at 5 minutes, so we turn off our oven, and then we're going to put it in the colander, and just get the last few pieces in there too. And we're going to use the same pan when we start with the next step. So we're going to put it on a different burner though. And while it's just like that, actually, we're going to take 3 tablespoons of butter, and we're just going to drop it in there and let it melt. And while that's doing that thing, we're going to get some flour, 1 tablespoon of flour. So I like to make sure it's completely measured, so I just level it off with a knife. And when the butter over there is melted, is when we're going to add the flour. So I'm just going to wait for it to melt a little bit. So now that our butter is melted, we're just going to add our tablespoon of flour, and we're going to whisk it around until it becomes sort of like a little thicker in one thing. And we're going to rest that aside for a second. Just drop my whisk. And we're going to take a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Oh. Okay, don't spill it because it's very strong. And 1 teaspoon of salt. We're just going to set that aside. And then we're going to get 2 cups of milk. We're going to be pouring 2 cups of milk onto there. But first we're going to move it to the hotter one, because we're actually going to be bringing it to a boil again. So we're going to grab our milk and pour 2 cups into the mixture. So that's 1. And we're bringing this to a boil because it's going to thicken up like sort of like a gravy. And now is when we add our salt and pepper. And now if you don't like pepper a lot, you don't have to use as much. Like I don't really like to use that much anyways, but just going to plop that in there. And we're going to whisk it around and bring it to a boil.